Got Facebook on here for the first time. So I got YouTube, Instagram, Facebook. How's everyone doing? Happy Wednesday. Week is half over. Jim, thanks for hopping on. Just going to give it a couple minutes to get rolling a little bit here. But as I was talking about yesterday we just kind of hung out together, wrote a little riff, and that was a lot of fun. It was a great excuse for me to hop on the instrument and just have some time to play. But today we're going to get into a little bit more of a actual topic. We're going to be going over some tips that you can do, and I think this is helpful for any range of guitarists, but especially new guitarists out there that are looking to memorize their fretboard. I had a conversation the other day with a potential student that reached out, and they were telling me some of their issues that they were having with the way they were going about learning the fretboard. So I thought I would kind of explain some of the ways that you can approach this to hopefully over time. It's not an overnight thing. You're not going to get this thing memorized right away. And even if you did get it memorized right away, what that actually does for you is going to take, some more time. But this is a way that you can start to get a little bit more acquainted with the fretboard, know where the notes are, and how I would go about showing you to do it if you were taking lessons with me. So, and you kind of are right now. So, we'll just give another 30 seconds here, see if anyone rolls in. Thank you, everyone that's already here. Okay, so fretboard tips. I think this is a question that a lot of people ask. I'm having so much trouble getting my fretboard down. How do I get this thing memorized a little bit more easily? And I think just going about it methodically is the best way, but there are ways to approach it that will get you there faster. So I think how I like to teach things is multifaceted, right? Because one way might not um, work for everybody or work as well for everybody. So there are multiple ways that you can go about learning these things. The first thing that I would do with a brand new student, so if you've never picked up the instrument before, what is your first instance of learning something about the fretboard? And that is, well, we need to learn what the open strings are called. Okay, so we have 6 strings: E, B, G, D, A, and E. That is from the first string all the way to the 6th string. So trying to get this to where everyone can see it. I got multiple cameras going on here. So um, yeah, so we have the open first string, which is also the E string, the open second string, which is also the B string, the open third string, which is also the G string, open 4, which is D, open 5, which is A, and then open 6, which is E again. So our top note and our bottom note are the same. So that is kind of the first instance of putting a letter name to a tone on the instrument. So that would be the very first thing that you would do is just take the time to learn those 6 open strings. And really it's just 5 because the top and the bottom are exactly the same. They are both E, just at what we call different octaves. It's a different pitch range. That is our low E, that is our high E. And they are 2 octaves apart, which isn't important right now. It's just in my head. So open E, open high E, and The other thing to know is, are you ever going to see like the note H? No, we just see A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and then we have what are called accidentals, which are sharps, flats, and natural signs. Mostly what you're going to be worried about is sharps and flats right now. But when you first go about learning the fretboard, learning those open strings first gives you something to anchor off of. Okay, so when you um, need to know, if you know that we have A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and you know that the open E string, that open sixth string is E, we know that one note away is going to be F. Just if we think about A, B, C, D, E, F, G, E, F. F comes after E. Now we do have to worry about those things, sharps and flats, but we're going to get into that with our next tip, okay? So learning what are called open scales, okay? And it's no different than a fretted scale. It's just we are including the open strings within this scale, okay? So the first open scale, the first scale that I show any beginner guitarist is a C major, and I only show it to start with from the fifth string to the second string. So we're not even going to be worried just yet about the about the sixth string and the first string. So we go through this, and the C major scale in first position here. We start on the third fret of the fifth string, right there. Get you over here. There we go, right there. We play the open fourth string, which again we know is D. Now we have, so I'm trying to see comments here on YouTube. I'm not sure how this works yet on the viewing options. Okay, I think I got that fixed. Okay, so open C major. We have the fifth string at the third fret. We have the open fourth string, which we already know is D because we learned our open strings. We have the second fret on that same string. We have the third fret after that, the open G string, the second fret on that same string. Notice I'm not saying what those note names are just yet. We have the open second string, which we already know is the B string if we learned our open notes here. And then finally, that first fret on the second string. So we would start by just getting that pattern down. Now we might learn that pattern by just thinking about it in terms of finger number. We have our four fingers here, pointer is 1, 2, 3, and 4. And so we might just memorize it as, okay, well I know that my first finger is going to play anything on the first fret, my second finger is going to play anything on the second fret, and my third finger is going to play anything on the third fret. So we might get this memorized by going 3, open, 2, 3, open, 2, open, 1. Sounds good. Might take it backwards. This is all mechanical stuff, right? But this is going to apply to us learning the fretboard in a minute here, okay? So the next thing that we would do is apply the note names to that. Now a C major scale, I would tell you, is the note C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. No sharps, no flats. We have not encountered any sharps or any flats just yet. That will come with one of the next scales that we learn. We encounter our first sharp and then we encounter our first flat. But to begin with, real straightforward C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, okay? So now we would apply that knowledge, instead of just thinking about it in terms of finger number, we would think about it in terms of note name, okay? So we would apply, okay, I know when I play the third fret at the fifth string, that first note that I played in my pattern, that is a C, okay? The next note in the scale is D, which checks out because we learned our open strings, right? And we know that that fourth string open is D. So C, D, next note, we know it's our second finger, that is E, C, D, E. Next note, F, open G string, A, B, open B string. We know that again because we learned our open strings. And then finally, that first fret at the second string is C. C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. notice that you didn't see any, we never said an H note, an M note, anything like that. Our musical alphabet is simply A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and then it repeats. It's just that circular motion, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Just keeps on going, okay? Um, so we notice when we go C, D, E, F, G, the next note that we play, A, starts over again. B, C. Now, I would have you first learn this scale. I might have you learn it both ascending like that, descending, ascending and descending. But then we are going to apply those note names to where hopefully the goal here is that you eventually get used to rolling through these notes C, D, even just by saying the scale, E, F, G, A, B, C, and then you take it back down, C, B, A, G, F, E, open D, finally C. Okay, so that scale is now giving us points in which we can lean on to know where we now know that the second fret on that third string is A. We knew that the open string was G. Moving to that second fret, we now know is A, because C, D, E, F, G, A. So simply by getting this scale memorized and looking at it from different angles, we looked at it from the perspective of finger number, 3, open 2, 3, open 2, open 1. We could look at it from the perspective of fret number, which is basically, well, it is the same because we're in first position here. 3, open, that's the third fret, open, second fret, third fret, open, second fret, open, first fret. Okay, so scales are great finger exercises, but there's so much more that there are to them. It's not just so we can roll through them like that. That's great. That's where we build that speed and dexterity. Do you know any blues scales to play tuned in E flat? Well, if you're tuned in E flat, yeah, you can play like an open blues scale. But we'll get to that. I'll kind of roll back to that. Let's stick with this C major scale for right now. So we get this memorized. We're not even concerned with our first string or our sixth string just yet. We are just going from 5 to 2 and back down. And as you go through this and you spend some time with it and you maybe work on playing it nice and slow, C, and you say the note names as you go through them, D, E, F. I don't want you just to be saying these note names and not thinking about what you're actually doing. I want you to take some time and really get in here that the first fret is C. The open one is B, A, G, F, E, D, and finally C again. Okay, so now we know part of our fretboard. We know pieces of those first 3 frets. We know C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. And then you can kind of run little drills with yourself, okay? So an example of this would be like, okay, well, I know where all the notes are on the scale here, so I'm just gonna find a point and go to it as quickly as I can. So I might go to this note. Okay, I know that's A. I know that this is E. I know that this is C. Back onto the first note, that's C again. And it's like just running little drills with yourself. And you can even take this further by just doing a simple Google search for like fretboard learning or fretboard learning game. I found one by just doing like learn your guitar fretboard, and it popped up a bunch of just like websites that will basically just, you know, point a fret in a string, and it'll allow you to choose what fret you're playing. So it'll pop up that second fret on the third string and say, you know, which note is this? Okay, well, that's A. Perfect. And it'll tell you if you're wrong. So it's like flashcards, right? Like it's just a way to test yourself with what you are playing outside of just running through it from start to finish. Um, that's important to be able to run through it start to finish like that. But you need to be able to pick these things out in other contexts when we start to look at songs, when we look at other scales, being able to pinpoint where these notes are, especially as you start learning kind of some foundational theory stuff, is going to be um, it's great if you know that a C major 7 chord is C, E, G, B, but if you don't know where those notes are on the fretboard at different locations, you're limiting yourself as to where you can find these things. Now, do you need to know every single variation of C major 7? No, but I think a lot of these things just kind of start to piece together naturally over time when you spend some time, you're going to start to make these connections between, okay, I learned in a C major scale, this is this. And then in a G major scale, a lot of these things are exactly the same. There's just some small variations. And by running through this over and over and over again, you eventually really get into your head, well, okay, I know that the fourth fret is F sharp. We're going to get into the G major scale next, which has an F sharp. So we started with that C major scale. Now we could take that scale. The reason I only like to do it from the fifth string into the first or into the second string is because it's a complete octave. In this particular positioning, we're not going to be able to get to finish that second octave unless I switch position. And if you're first learning, I'm not really concerned with up here just yet, right? I really want you to start with those first 3, 4, and 5 frets, right? If you can get a good foundation of like where are the notes in here, starting to then bleed up into here is going to be a lot more simple because you're going to know the relationships that you found down here, and those relationships will apply similarly higher up on the fretboard. Okay, so we just went through C major in one octave. We could take it further, the partial octave. We could take it back down. It's just a little less, you kind of lose your footing a little bit because that lower portion and that higher portion aren't complete octaves just yet. So I like for beginners to really feel that completeness of a scale because I think it adds just a stronger sonic foundation for you. It sounds complete. It doesn't sound like oh, I'm missing something here. So with that C major scale to begin with, we're just going to stick to that one octave, okay? So let's talk about one other scale before moving into some other ways to start to memorize these notes and see the relationships between notes, chords, and songs. Um, so another scale, usually the second scale that I show people, is this G major scale. Now I love this scale because it takes us through two octaves of that instance of G major. Then we can see that we roll through that scale twice just at a higher positioning, just at a higher octave level, okay? So this is nice because we get to now use all the strings and we open up a lot more possibilities for what notes we were playing there. Jeffrey, thank you. Um, so G major, the difference between C major and G major, um, eventually you're going to learn what's called the major scale formula. And you're going to see how C major and G major and F major and D major, all these things follow the same formula from a different starting point. And that's where we are building these scales from. Now, I usually get into that not right away because it's a little bit more boring type stuff. I want you guys to be having fun at the beginning, but eventually we do get into that. And if anyone out there is looking for one-on-one lessons, I do actually do work with a small number of remote students, and I have that linked in the description here on YouTube, or you can just check out KensingGuitarAcademy.com. I have an apply there, a form to fill out. So If anyone's looking for remote guitar teaching, I do work with some students one-on-one. So anyway, G major, we would go about it the same way that we did with C major. First, just by getting it memorized. Please take example A minor pentatonic. One of the most popular scales ever. That was a question from Instagram. Definitely eventually get into pentatonics. I have a couple of videos on YouTube about pentatonics as well, so you might want to check them out there. But let's stick with this G major scale. I'll come back at the end and do a little bit of time on some of these questions that are popping in. I appreciate the questions. Okay, so G major, start the same way. Just get the form memorized. We're in a similar positioning. We're still in first position, but now we get to use our fourth finger as well and reach out to this F sharp over here, okay? So this is nice because now we are using each one of our fingers, not just 1, 2, 3. That fourth finger, that pinky, is usually a little bit more, it's weaker than the rest of our fingers. It gives some beginners a little bit more of a challenge to work with. So this is a great way to break into that slightly, okay? So the pattern here, we have our third fret on the sixth string, open, 2, 3, open fourth string, second fret on that same string. Now we're going to reach out with our pinky to that fourth fret on that fourth string, open G, second fret, open, 1, 3, open, 2, 3. And this sounds nice and complete because we are rolling through this scale twice over 2 octaves. Learn that both ascending and descending. End of that G major there, you can kind of hear how it relates. Okay, so now we learn the notes that are involved. So G major is G, A, B, C, D, E. Has anything sounded similar so far? Yes, we haven't played anything different so far than that C major scale. C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. G major, G, A, B, C, D, D, E. Okay, there's our difference. F sharp. A C major scale has an F natural, just that standard F, right? G major has what we call an F sharp. That is just 1 half step away from F. So we have in our C major scale, C, D, E, F. 1 more half step away, that fourth fret is F sharp. And we can hear, if I play that C major scale, has that major quality to it. Now if I roll through all those same tones, that was a little different. We don't want that. That was a flatted 7th fret. There's that major. So the difference between F and F sharp makes a difference there for the G major scale. So again, that is G, A, B, C, D, E, F sharp, G. So without going into too deep of scale work here, the main thing that I'm trying to get across to you here is that by learning this second major scale, we see 2 things. We see what is similar and we see what is different. In between C major and G major, well, we have a different starting point. With C major, we started on the C on the 3rd fret of the 5th string. With G major, we started on the 6th string at the 3rd fret. C and G makes sense. We want to start on the root note of that scale, the tonic of that scale. And then what else is different? Not much. We have one difference, that F sharp. C major has an F natural, G major has an F sharp. So what did we just do here? Well, we expanded what our knowledge base is of this fretboard. We now delved into the 4th fret a little bit, and we know that we have the 4th fret on the 4th string is F sharp. There it is. And we've also reinforced those other things that we already learned through C major, that the 3rd fret is C, that the open 4th is D. We should also know that because we memorized our open strings. 2nd fret is E. Now, there is that F, F sharp. So we now have these three tones right here that we have learned. And what you can then do is think, oh, well, I can apply what I learned now to G major back to C major because I know where my F sharp is. I know where my F natural is on the first string and the second string and on the sixth string. So you can take that initial shape that we just used four strings on and we can take it further. So I think learning most things is about making connections. And if you can make those connections on your own, that is going to be where the real breakthroughs happen. Because I can tell you something, and you learn it, you memorize it. That's great. But there's going to be a time where like something just clicks, even if we've talked about it before. But you're going to see where this related to this, right? And maybe we talked about this concept and we talked about this concept, but you didn't really put together how they were related. And maybe I didn't mention it. So you're going to see these things that, wait, this is the same thing as this, except for this little difference here. And when you're able to do that, when you make those breakthroughs, that's where things really start to click, because it took your own brain power to kind of put that together. That doesn't mean that you want to have that instruction, whether that's through YouTube or a private teacher or whatever. You want some guidance for sure. But what is also important is personal discovery. When you put the pieces together, you connect the dots on your own. I feel like there's not only a real sense of accomplishment there, but also a lot of really great breakthroughs that can happen because of that. Okay, so we have now talked about a couple things. Open strings, get those memorized. That's really day one stuff, right? You want to know what our open strings are because that's going to apply to how we're tuning the instrument when we use an electric tuner, or if we're old school like me and tune by ear. Not always. I use a tuner. I'm not to say I never use a tuner, but when I first learned, yeah, it was definitely just match them up, or do the octave trick, the harmonic trick. So we know those open strings, we memorized what those are, we memorized a couple scales, and the more scales that you get on top of that, you're going to start to discover more notes. So for instance, if we learn that F major scale, we find that there's a B flat in there. So now we are, again, like revealing what these notes are called, and you are making these leaps in knowledge between, oh, C major scale has this, a G major scale has this, F major scale has this. They also share a whole bunch of notes as well. So learning some basic scales and take them further than just getting them memorized. Try to really get the note names tied to their positions here, and then also try to make that jump of relating one scale to another scale to see what is different, and to what to see what is in common as well. Next, what can you do? Well, a lot of beginners, all beginners, we have to learn chords, right? It's not just scales. We're not just running through melodies. We are learning chords. Now, I usually don't, there's a note in each chord that for beginners is the most important. They're all important, but for beginners especially, we need to know what's called the root note of a chord, okay? So when we learn in E minor, we know that the root note is this sixth string here. Or at least I hope you are told that that root note is E, that open E string. So now this reinforces what we learned with learning our open strings. Okay, the root note is E, that lowest tone that we hear. And later on you find out that we encounter this E at different points within the chord. We encounter it on the sixth string, the fourth string, and the first string. They are all the root note, but I am concerned with the lowest frequency of that root note. And this becomes particularly important when we do things like move to, let's say, an A minor. A minor is the notes A, C, E, but what we are concerned with is the lowest A note. The root note names the chord. Notice how E minor, the root note was E. A minor, the root note is A. So with that, I could give you the most difficult chord that you have ever heard in terms of explanation. What is a C major 7 add 9 or whatever. You don't you could tell me what the root note is. It's C. It names the chord. Okay, so um, what is the root note of D? Oh wait, it's D. So uh, what is the root note of D minor? D. What's the root note of D7? D. What's the root note of D major 7? D. It's always that same tone. The root note names the chord. So that is something to keep in mind. Now, if we are learning the lowest, at least when I'm showing students new chords to begin with, that root note is really important, because on something like an A minor, that lowest instance is that open fifth string. That's going to apply to our strumming. We want to know, I show a strumming pattern in the beginning, which is really just to line out that chord, outline the chord. So it's root, root, down, root, root, down. This is why I want you to know where your root notes are. We need to know that the root note for A minor is A, and that it's on the fifth string. For E minor, it's the sixth string. 6, 6, down. 6, 6, down. On that A minor, 5, 5, down. 5, 5, down. Now, how about for something like C major? What is the root note for C major? It is C. Now, what's the lowest instance of it? That third fret on the fifth string. So again, root notes become very important when we learn things like bar chords. So I kind of introduce them earlier on with our open chords. So here we go, C major, fifth string. So just by learning a C major, I know that the third fret on the fifth string is C. How about D major? Well, I would tell you from the diagram that the root note is on the fourth open string. So we know that the fourth open string is D. And we already knew that because we knew what our open strings were called. We've run through our C major scale. So we now have had 3 different instances of repeating the process of finding out that the open fourth string is the note D. Okay, so when you start to approach learning from multiple angles and making those connections from multiple angles, yeah, we encountered that D string just by learning our open strings. We encountered that D string when we learned our D major chord. And we also passed through that open D when we were playing our C major scale. And when we were playing our G major scale, right there, that open fourth string. So we have reinforced it 3 times that that open fourth string is D. And that's kind of, you know, the point of this whole video. You have to reinforce these locations. And for some of you out there, this might seem like very basic stuff because you've run through these things before. But for beginners, just think back to when you were first learning the instrument, or if you are first learning the instrument, these things take time to develop. So one thing that I would also add into the mix is give yourself the time to really get these things integrated into your head, really ingrained in your memory. So when you're not going to learn this the first week, now maybe some of you will, but I think even if you were able to memorize the first fret all the way to the 12th fret here in the first week of playing guitar, what does that really do for you? It doesn't do a whole lot in the very beginning until you start to make those connections. So by doing it this way and reinforcing it through different methods, you are not only memorizing it rote just for what it is, but you are learning more connections than that. Why is it that? So it's not just learning what the location is, but then the eventual goal is to be able to use that information. Why? Okay, I know where D is there, and I'm going to be able to use that for this purpose. And a lot of things that we learn here, it's not necessarily to like, how can I say it? Sorry, give me a second. I lost my train of thought there. We just need those multiple ways to pop through that note, because there's going to be a time when you've practiced it 3-4 different ways, and then when you're introduced to it in that 6th way, that 7th way, it's immediately going to make sense to you. Okay, so give yourself the time to really let these things get ingrained into your head, learn that scale, learn the next scale. This might be a 3-month process, but all along the way, you have been slowly incorporating that knowledge that the open fourth string is a D, the open first string is E, that the second fret is F sharp, that the third fret of the fifth string is C. And then eventually you're just like, oh yeah, well, okay, I know that you start to get into chord shapes. You're like, okay, well, I know what all these notes are. So when I play that third fret of the fifth string, I know that's C. Okay, well, also I'm fretting the second fret of the fourth string. That's an E, I know that, I passed through it. We have the open G string, another C, and another E. Okay, so the only notes that I have played is a C, an E, and a G. Well, C major must be the notes C, E, and G. It is. That's what I mean by putting these things together. We are learning the individual building blocks, and then eventually we're able to take those building blocks and look at the fully built building and see how that building is built with those components of those building blocks. And that's where the real magic starts to happen, is not just recognizing what the brick is, but knowing how to use the brick to build a building. That is the real magic with what you're doing here. Okay, so give yourself the time. This isn't something that you're going to learn overnight. Learn those scales, pay attention to what notes you are playing, learn those open strings. What's another thing? We just talked about root notes, so when you are learning those scales, make sure that you are, or when you're learning those chords rather, know where those root notes are. Okay, so this also applies when we start to get into bar chords. So the great thing about bar chords is you learn one chord, you learn them all. One shape. So this shape right here is a major shape for the sixth string. This is G major. If I move it one fret higher, it's G sharp major. Another fret higher, it's A major, B flat major, B major, C major, and so on. So the great thing about bar chords is that you learn one shape and you learn 12 chords. So really great for expanding your chord knowledge. So the next way that those things apply together is maybe just taking the 3rd, 5th, 7th, 9th, and 12th frets. And now I'm just concerned with the 6th string and the 5th string. If I can get like these little points memorized, knowing that that 3rd fret on the 6th string is G, which we would already know because we went through that scale. We know that that 3rd fret on the 6th string is G, but then knowing that, look at a diagram of the fretboard. The 5th fret is A, the 7th fret is B, 9th fret is C sharp, 12th fret is E again, that octave. So why is that important? Well, when we learn our bar chords, now we start to reinforce, okay, you're looking at a song and the song is a major and a G major, let's say. Okay, so we could play that, our open chords. Sounds good, but maybe that's not how the song goes. Maybe they're playing bar chords. That in this shape, that the root note is the 6th string. For this particular shape, that root note is the 6th string, no matter where I place that shape, okay? So if I know what the fret marking is here, the fret marking is here, 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 and here, I have something to lean off of, okay? So I know that at the 3rd fret, that's G. Well, I know that the next letter name that's going to come up is A. And I know that there is a sharp or a flat in between G and A. And I learned that through going through my scales. So now we can start to put together that, okay, well, the 3rd fret is G, the 5th fret is A. I must be playing a G major and an A major. And I am. That's G major, A major, B major. And then you might know that the 2nd fret is that F sharp because you learned your G major scale. So now I'm playing an F sharp major, F major, E major, obviously, and we can see how those are related. That E major open shape, we get to see how it's really just this bar chord with open strings. Okay, so another way that those root notes apply is simply by the top two strings. See if you can memorize the fret markings, because that's going to help you with your bar chords. If you look at those chord diagrams, or if you're looking at a lyric sheet and it says that the song is G, B, E major. So G major, B major, E major, whatever it may be, right? So we just know that it's going to allow us to locate those chords faster. So far we have gone through learning what our open strings are, learning our basic open scale shapes, remembering where our root notes are on our open chords, then starting to memorize just that fifth and sixth string, so it allows us to take that into consideration when we are playing our bar chords. So notice how these are multiple layers, right? So learning where your notes are don't just help you with learning where your notes are. It also helps you with locating where you should play a chord. So that's why it's important to know your root notes for your chord, and then where those root notes are located, what the notes are on those strings, so you can find that chord really quickly. So for instance, if we were playing a minor shape, if I know that second note on the fifth fret is B, which I do, because our G major scale, G, A, B, and I know that this is the minor shape for the fifth string root note, I have a B minor, C minor, C sharp or D flat minor, D minor, E flat minor, E minor, and so on. You can see where our open shape of E minor now sounds the same up here. It's at a different pitch range, it's at what we call a different voicing, but it's passing through all those same tones at a different octave. Okay, so what else? I think beyond that, learning like little tidbits on things that will allow you to find a different note. So if I know that this is C, we've learned that this is C in multiple ways. Well, if I know what my octave shapes are, I can find where C is at another octave. And the first octave shape that we encounter is just 2 frets away, 2 strings away. Okay, so for instance, this C right here, the octave of it is 1, 2 frets away, and then I lower it 2 strings, 1, 2. Again, that's C, 2 frets away, 2 strings lower. And we see that sounds the same. Those are the same note at a different pitch range. That same shape applies for the 6th string. It's just 2 notes, 2 frets away, and then 2 strings down. We can hear how all of that sounds like G, and there's C. So now, if I know what the 3rd fret is on that 6th string, I also know what the 5th fret is on the 4th string, because it's an octave away. It's the same note. An octave just means the same note that we were playing at a higher pitch range, okay? So we can see there that the 5th fret at the 4th string is also G, just at a higher pitch range. The 5th fret, or the 5th string at the 3rd fret is C, so if I do that same shape, the 3rd string at the 5th fret is also C, just like that. And then for our 4th string, to get the octave, we need to go 3 frets away, 1, 2, 3, and then 2 strings down again. So this shape is a little wider now, just like that. And then the same thing applies to the 3rd string and the 1st string. So we have 2 shapes, this shape and then this shape. It's a little bit of a stretch, but even if you can't use it in your playing right away, you can use it to locate where those notes are. So again, if I know, let's say where, for this example, we'll do E, okay? So we know that the open E string is there. We also know by our scales that it's this second fret on the fourth string. I know my octave shape, so I now also know that the fifth fret on the second string is E. So now we know 4 locations for E. We have the open sixth string, the second fret on the fourth string, the fifth fret on the second string, and that octave, that high E string as well. And then we start to make other little notices like, oh, I can play the same exact note in different positions. That open E string is the same tone, pitch range, as the fifth fret on the second string. They might have a slightly different what's called timbre. This one's a little brighter sounding. This one's a little bit more muted because this is an open string and this is being fretted. But they are the same pitch level. So that's kind of the great thing and the confusing thing about guitar. We can play the same exact note in different locations on the fretboard. You can't do that on a piano. Middle C is middle C, and that's the only place that you encounter middle C. On guitar, you can play it in like 3-4 places. So, there's flexibility there, but sometimes added variation adds more difficulty in some areas. Not saying piano is easier or more difficult than guitar. They are just different. Piano is linear, guitar is a grid. We have different strings with that we encounter the same notes as different locations on the fretboard. Okay, so now we have added in that aspect of the shape of the octave. So by using that, I can do a couple things here, okay? So we found out that, okay, here's G, we know that the octave's here, so that's also G. Well, what if I start down here now and do my octave shape? There it is. So I also know that the 8th fret on the second string is also G. We have now located G in multiple areas. And I'm throwing a whole bunch at you here right now. Again, this is not something that you're going to get down over in a week. This is something that you would spend a little bit of time with here, a little bit of time with there. And over time, by using these different methods, you are making connections as to where all these things are, okay? So, that's how I would go by approaching to learn the fretboard. At least there's other ways too. You're going to incorporate closed forms of scales. We learn G major here. Well, what about here? And that's another example of 2 completely different looking things that produce the exact same result. I pass through all the same tones here. All the same pitch ranges, but in different locations on the fretboard. And by doing that, you start learning these other ways to play the same chord, other ways to play the same chord, other ways to play the same scale. Well, I already know that my G major scale is G, A, B, C, D, E, F sharp, G. So now when I roll through this, G, A, B, C, D. Okay, well now I know that the 5th fret on the 5th string is D. E, F sharp, G. Oh, yeah, there. And there's that octave shape that we just learned, right? So it's all about making these little connections back and forth, and eventually the broader image of this, I always explain it like you're looking at a sculpture. If you're only looking at that sculpture from one position, you're not getting the angle of it. You're not seeing the other side. You're not seeing walking around and looking what the back of the sculpture looks like. All of those different angles give you a different perspective of what you're looking at and a broader image, a fuller image of what's going on of that sculpture. Same way here. Approach things in multiple ways, and it will give you a broader perspective of what you are doing. Okay, so I think that's probably enough for today. I hope that you all enjoyed this. Oh my gosh, we're already 50 minutes in. My long-winded explanation of stuff, but I think we went over quite a few concepts here, right? So just to recap, learn those open strings if you're a brand new beginner. Learn some scales, those open scales especially, C major, G major, F major, and really just try to put together the placement with the note name and let those things start to really ingrain into your brain over time. Pay attention to where your root notes are for both open chords and for bar chords, because if you learn one bar chord, you learned a G major bar chord, realize that you learned all 11 other major chords along that fretboard. Learn your octave shapes and start to look at where things are on the fretboard. You can take those things higher. So experiment a little. Give yourself some time. Uh, that's the big thing. Run those kind of blind drills if you find that website, but ultimately give yourself time. Don't think that you need to have this memorized next week. There is no test unless you're in music school or something and you got a test. If you do, I'm sorry. Music school is great. I don't mean to talk bad on it, but take the time, realize that there is no finish line. You're always going to get better. If you stick with the instrument, you are going to grow. So this isn't something where you cross the finish line when you turn 40 years old, when you turn 50 years old. This is something that you hopefully can enjoy music for the rest of your life. So take that time. Um, if you are looking to practice some of these concepts with me, kind of what we did here today, but in a longer form video, let's say playing that C major scale at different pitch ranges. I make a lot of practice play along videos on my Patreon. I have that linked in the description. That is patreon.com/Kenson Guitar Academy. I am Kenson Guitar Academy everywhere. And I make these kind of 15 to 30-minute videos sometimes that are just taking us from a very slow tempo into a more rapid pace of that scale to gradually work into the speeds that you eventually want to be able to just so you have that fretboard freedom, that speed and dexterity that you're looking for. I think a lot of people want to play solos. Well, that's how you do it. You start to just gradually learn things slow and gradually speed it up. So I have some play along practice videos and some other content over on my Patreon as well. And again, if you're ever looking for one-on-one instruction, you can go to kensonguitaracademy.com, and I have an application on there as well for remote students. So thank you everyone for hanging out. I'm going to see if there's any comments going on here. Oh, thank you. Soloing over chords. Yeah, there's certainly a difference between soloing over the key of the song and then soloing over the chord. So, this is something that is very prevalent in like jazz and stuff like that, but it's prevalent everywhere. Like you find this in hard rock metal solos. I think that pentatonic scale is one of those kind of safety scales that just sounds good and you can do a whole lot with it. So a lot of people stick with that. But what you can do is if you jump to a chord, kind of a substitution chord in the key that has a note, let's say the you're jumping to an E major and that has a G sharp in it, and the key doesn't have it has G natural in it, but so over three of the chords that are in the progression, you are playing that G natural, but then when the timing of the song moves to that G major, you can really bring out the difference that E major is bringing to the song, which is that G sharp. So it's kind of like punching the difference in your melody. So you know practicing over the key and practicing over the chord is two different things, and it's absolutely a difficult thing to work into regular playing, but it's like anything else, right? You start by learning those basic things over the key of the song, and then when you encounter something different, you just do it a little bit at a time. So, okay, I'm going to try to, when it goes to that E major chord, I'm going to punch that G sharp and really bring out the difference that E major is bringing to this part of the song. So yeah, when you are playing over the chord as opposed to playing over the key, you need to be watching out for what notes each chord is bringing into the song that is different from the overarching like key of the song. Whenever we can substitute chords all the time and add other things that are outside of the key. So when those things pop up chord wise in the song, that's when you would want to switch up your playing a little bit and add those tones that are outside of the key into that particular part of the song. Um, so that's, how I would approach really just at first, just finding like the obvious difference and then really kind of hovering around it so you can really pinpoint where the difference is. And then eventually it can be a more kind of flowing thing where you just pass through it and you're not necessarily even putting a whole lot of time into what's going on that G sharp or whatever. You can kind of free flow through that chord with that difference there. See if there's anything else here. We're looking pretty good. Hey, I appreciate everybody coming out. We got quite a few people watching today. I appreciate you all. Um, and we will meet again on Friday. So again, I'm trying to do this Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, and we are starting at 10 a.m. I might adjust that to 9:30, but I think 10 a.m. today was pretty good. So for right now, we're sticking with 10 a.m. Hey, thank you, Jeffrey. Thank you for coming out. I appreciate you. Um, Thank you, everybody, and I will see you in the next one, okay? For more information, you can always go to kensonguitaracademy.com or check me out on my Patreon. That's patreon.com/Kenson Guitar Academy. All right, I'll see you all later. Thank you.